Okay, you should be able to see the video that just popped up. Just give me a quick thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Let me see if I can put the computer audio on. Just share the computer audio. Just give me a sec. Oh, crap. Okay, because I have my AirPods connected, I think I can't share the audio on here. But I'll just tell you some more about Wax News, and then I'll have you introduce yourself. So basically, what we do here is we're the news for the school. So we're the news that not always that major events have been followed here. I think when we did like the musical and stuff like that, that was all followed by some news organizations, and obviously the COVID news spreads around all the school. But we try to be the news for the students that the students want. So like we talk about how COVID is affecting students, winter sports with COVID and stuff like that, and we give recaps and all the winter sports and stuff like that. And also, we tried to do some comical videos, like I said before. So I did one for Halloween a couple of years ago where I went around scaring teachers. Um, I did one where I pretended to be Bear Grylls and go out in nature. This was when the whole pandemic thing was happening. But yeah, we do a bunch of different video content. So yeah, and that's basically all there. That's basically a kind of an overview of Wax News. So I'll give the floor to you and let you introduce yourself and show some of your work. So.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate that. Or Matthew, what do you prefer?
It doesn't matter. I'm not one of those people. So.
Nice. Yeah, I'm the same way. Andy, Andrew, whatever. So thank you guys so much for having me today, and thanks to Mr. D as well. So my name's Andrew Meyer. I am an associate producer for the Buffalo Bills, which is a fancier way of saying I'm the videographer, editor, who sometimes does some producing. So before I ramble on about myself, I'm gonna share a video with you guys just to get us all hype here. Okay, let's see. Can you see what can you see right now? Can you see this Finder window?
Yeah.
Okay. What happens if I double click that? It's not sharing the video right now, is it? Okay, hold on.
No, it's not.
I use Teams a lot for work, but not this type of conferencing. Okay, how can I bring the conference back up? If I go back into the meeting, you guys still got me, right?
Yeah, just stop screen sharing for this one, and then just try to share your entire screen. So that will let you share without actually just sharing a program.
Okay. I have to get back to that window. I don't get back to the window. Oh no.
So
Yep.
So at the top, right next to the microphone icon, there's the screen share icon. Just click that again, and it'll stop, and then you could go back and click it and share your screen again, but share the entire screen.
Yeah, I've lost the meeting though.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I can't see you anymore. I have Teams up, but I don't have the.
You're on a Mac, correct?
Yes, I am. I found it. Okay, we're back. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's try this again. Thank you, though. You guys have the tech chops. I am on a Mac. This is my work machine actually, but I used to be a Windows guy, and I've kind of become a convert. Okay, here we go. We are going to go screen share. I'm going to click on. How do I share my whole screen?
Click something that says like screen 1 or something like that, because then it'll allow you to switch to Windows.
There you go. Okay, so now you guys will see yourselves. Okay, let's see. Can you see this video here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And now if I play it out, is there audio? No audio.
No audio. When you screen share, I think you have to click on something that says like include computer sound or whatever.
Okay, cool. So we'll do that. I mean, we don't have to watch this, but I feel like it'll give you guys an idea. Okay, screen share. It's also not showing QuickTime, which is kind of a bummer. Desktop. Presenting. All right, well, I'm going to scrap this and I'll just talk for a little bit because we're running. I don't want to use up all our time, right? So, is that cool with you guys? Is that all right?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was going to share with you guys that I made a hype video that had Kyle Brandt in it. It got a lot of views, so you might have actually seen it on the Bills social if you follow the Bills on social media. But if not, totally understand. But it was just basically a nice encapsulation of kind of what I do for the Bills, which is shoot, edit, and produce video. So anything from a mic'd up video, like you guys talked about, where you did a mic'd up, all the way through, weekly press conferences with coach or players, cutting those up and putting highlights on social. From those, shooting highlights of the actual game. So we all shoot. There's 4 people that do my job. We all shoot every game, and then edit content accordingly. After the game happens, and then hype videos, right? The weekly trailers, I make some of those. Do a little bit of motion graphics work here and there with After Effects and Premiere. I do all my editing in. But that's kind of an overview, right? So generally, if you see a video on the Bills social channels or on the BuffaloBills.com, it either came from my desk or one of the other associate producers at the Bills. There's also the whole PSE umbrella, right? That Craig works for, who you guys met very briefly earlier. But that's kind of an overview of what I do. As far as my background, I don't know, people tend to ask how do you get a job like this? So I started out, I went to college at SUNY Fredonia, where I got a degree in journalism. I thought I was going to be on camera when I first started going to school there. Turns out I really liked being behind the scenes, shooting and editing. Out of college, I was lucky to get a job with Channel 4, WIVB, so competition of Heather's station there. Editing promotional stuff, so doing like commercials and basically editing like the coming up on News 4 at 5 o'clock, here's the stories of the day. So I do have a news background, but I've always loved sports. So I really wanted to get into the sports realm from there. So after 3 years at WIVB, I got a job at Canisius College, working in the athletic department, doing video production there and helping out with their ESPN broadcasts. So that was doing live ESPN3 broadcast with the students there, working with students a couple of years older than you guys. And then after working there for a couple of years, I found out about an opening with the Bills, and I talked to someone I knew there, ended up getting an interview, whatever, long story short, I was able to get hired by the team. So that's kind of my background. Before I did all that, though, before I went to Fredonia for journalism or went to WIVB or worked at Canisius or got a job with the Bills, I got my real start and my real love of TV, hosting the morning announcements at Amherst Central High School. So just like you guys have your full-fledged, news operation with executive producers and editors, me and my best friend Jake were on the news every morning, delivering the daily kind of rundown. So that's kind of an overview of sort of my background and kind of how I got here. I'm an editor, probably primarily. I think editing video is probably my favorite thing, and one of the best skills you can have, no matter what you're going into. Knowing how to shoot and edit video is paramount. There isn't really, and I'm sure Mr. D talks about this, there isn't really a job now where you can kind of just go and only do one thing, right? Like, unless you're going to go to Hollywood and be like a film editor, more often than not, you're probably going to have to leverage a couple skills. And that's where, your generation is really strong, right? You guys have all grown up with all this technology anyway. So, TikTok, and I don't know if you remember, even Vine, probably when you were younger, like, video production has kind of been a fabric of your upbringing. So you're already a step ahead. When I was in high school, I was making YouTube videos when YouTube was like barely a thing, with a camcorder and my buddy's MacBook. So, learning how to shoot and edit and kind of produce content and think about it is huge, no matter what you want to go into. But just like learning how to write and produce is just as important. So, I was a writer first. I thought I was going to be a print journalist, and then I thought I was going to be on camera. And turns out the best thing was to be behind the camera. So, I guess with that, and with talking about my background a little bit, I want to make sure we have enough time for plenty of questions. So You guys cool if I open it up to you? Is that all right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been talking too much. So Braden and Tyler, if you guys have a question first, go right ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Braden, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah. How much like other content do you consume?
That's a really, really, really good question. I consume a ton of content outside of just sports. Like, uh, the one. So I used to say this to the students at Canisius, and Mr. D probably said something similar to you guys, even as high schoolers. Like, if you're gonna try to go into video production or like content creation, you're kind of at an advantage because everything that you consume you can use to learn and grow, right? So like my brain, I always joke like my brain's kind of broken. Like I can't like watch a Netflix show without like noticing how the cameras are set up or like what the editing is or like what the depth of field might be on the close-ups or like I can't watch a documentary without being like, oh, it's interesting that they chose this soundbite for this section and they're using this, angle here and this and that. So pretty much anytime I'm watching other stuff or other content stuff, um, I'm kind of taking it in and trying to use that to sort of like expand my tool belt. So the short way answer to your question is I consume a lot of other content. It's a good way to stay well rounded. You can be the biggest sports nerd in the world and care all about sports and love, the Bills and know everything about Josh Allen's passing numbers and this and that. But if you don't have a well shaped, you know, creative brain, you won't be you'll hit a ceiling. You know what I mean? So the only way to kind of keep pushing through your ceiling is to constantly be consuming and taking in music videos and TV shows and all sorts of things. That's a good question, Brady.
What is it like? Because I saw you also do some like informative and like social political videos. I saw the one with the Black Lives Matter and the Bills players on their helmets. How do you schedule interviews with Bills players around their schedule and stuff like that?
Yeah. So this is a good question because this is kind of twofold, right? Like going back to my point about um like on a macro level, just to talk about that political video as well, because this is something that's kind of important to me. Like you have to know more outside of just what your field is, right, for sports. So like that political, I know this isn't your question, but like I drew from my news background like crazy with that video because I kind of had to, right? Like again, everything that you do is always going to be more than like you're never just going to be a sports guy and you're never just going to be a political guy. Like Mr. D he did a lot of theater and arts reporting and stuff like that, but he was probably drawing from his other background and knowing how the world works and this and that, all over the place. And so
I was just making it up as I went along, kind of like with teaching.
So it's okay. I'm always making it up as I always joke I'm just there to press record, right? You just make sure you hit the record button. So, but so I just wanted to touch on that. I know that wasn't your question, but that's very important to me is being able to use the platform for more than just like here's a cool Josh Allen highlight. That video was nice to kind of showcase the platform. But your actual question of how we schedule interviews, we're fortunate that we have a full PR staff and an entire media relations department who basically are the liaisons between us and the players. So I'm kind of in a unique situation because I'm media, but I am team media, right? So I have access to the players more than like say Heather would or whoever her sports guy, who's the Channel 2 sports guy, Adam Benini. Like I have more access to Josh Allen than he does, but I still have to go through the same people that he has to go through, right? The media relations staff. So we work with them, we set up the interviews, and then kind of go from there. COVID's sort of thrown everything for a loop because everything has to be done over Zoom, but you figure it out, right? I hope that answered your question, Matt.
It did. Thank you. Tyler, do you have any questions?
So what you do, you for the Bills, right? Is that it's probably a weird question, but it's just one of the questions I had written down. Is this like, does this job like pay your bills and stuff, or do you have like another side?
Yeah, no, it does. It is my full-time gig. it's tough because a lot of people have side hustles too in video production. Like last night, I was literally working on like template graphics to sell to like stock video websites just to like, I want to buy a new camera, so I want to fund that new camera with side money. But it isn't, and I'm sure Mr. D can tell you this because he's a teacher now and he wasn't a teacher before. It isn't the most lucrative business at all times, but I love it and it's a passionate thing. And you'll find as you continue to grow, and you guys are all probably creative people who have a certain facility about you, like it isn't always just about making a ton of money, right? So like I can pay the bills and I can live in the Elmwood Village with my partner and like do something I love every day. And I'd rather do something I love every day and in that regard than you know, like make a ton of money but doing something else. You know, I have friends who, you know, whatever are work in the business realm and they love it and they make a ton of money. And that's good for them.
All right, thank you.
I'm gonna go say.
Another question I had is there a certain type of video project that you like you get an assignment and you're like, oh, like, you know, it's kind of like a burden or like a something.
For sure. Well, it depends. There's two different kinds that are sort of like that. There's the high pressure burdens, like, you know, I did again getting into the macro level stuff or the big picture, but we did a Black History Month video last month and I edited it alongside help from our producer Maddie Glab helped me produce it, but that was a burden because of the pressure, because that's an important thing, right? And that's a big video that we're putting out, and the Bills haven't really done a lot of that type of stuff. So that one was a pretty big burden and pretty stressful because I wanted to make sure it was good, right? Not only is my name kind of attached to this thing, but really I'm representing a community that I'm not a part of, right? In the Black community or the people of color, and I want to make sure that it's a good video. And on top of that, this is sort of setting a precedent because the Bills haven't really done a video like this ever. So that's a burden in one capacity because it's stressful. And then there's other videos that are burdens in the sense that it's like, you know, maybe we have to do a video for Tim Hortons. We do so much sponsor stuff. So many of our videos, you see the little bug in the bottom corner. So, okay, we got to do this video for Tim Hortons, and I got to follow Billy Buffalo around, and he's got to go give out a bunch of donuts to people everywhere. And like, I'm not really very public facing. I'm not really good about like going out into the public and talking to people and stuff like that. So sometimes there are those videos where it's like, I really don't want to do this. I'd rather be at home. I'd rather be, you know, sitting playing like Fortnite or whatever, or like hanging out with my partner playing guitar, you know, but I guess that's the trade-off you give, right? Like maybe I got to follow Billy Buffalo around while he gives out donuts so that on Sunday I can follow Josh Allen around while he throws touchdowns.
So what was your biggest struggle to get to where you are today?
That's a great question. Probably my biggest struggle was getting that first job at Channel 4. It was once I got like an actual job, I started just kind of working my butt off to like just push through, you know what I mean, and like keep getting better and better. But it was really hard because when I was in college, I didn't have any good internships. I went to a small school at Fredonia, which I would recommend to anyone, by the way, if you guys are looking at colleges, or I don't know what year you guys are, but Matt, I'm guessing you're probably starting to look at schools. State schools are awesome. SUNY schools are great. Don't let anyone tell you that you need to go to Ithaca or Cornell or whatever to, you know, these big schools. They're great too. Go to Syracuse Newhouse if you can get in and you want to go there. But don't let anyone tell you that you have to, right? But my biggest struggle was definitely getting that first foot in the door because I didn't do a good internship in college, and I didn't have the opportunities that you guys have, right? Where I didn't have a Mr. D, you know, who was like, hey, we're gonna build a whole student news class or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I had the morning announcements with my buddy Jake, and then I had, you know, a degree from a small school, and I kind of tripped into a job at Channel 4 because I made some connections. So it just goes to show you that when you meet people in the industry, you know, don't be afraid to keep in touch with them, whatever. I'll give Mr. D, you know, Mr. D can give you my info because that's a big thing for me, is making sure that I help out people that are looking to do the same thing, right? So it was the biggest struggle for me was definitely getting that foot in the door, for sure. And it'll probably be the same for you guys too, you know. You got to make connections and get really good at what you do and be confident in yourself, but also continue to learn and grow. And you guys are in this class, and you're doing this with me right now, so you clearly care, and you clearly, you know, are trying to progress. So, yeah, that's a good question, Brady.
Another question I have is, what are some of the like once in a lifetime experiences or like big events that you've done that you probably couldn't have done had you not have this job with the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've been here for 2 years with the Bills, which is pretty crazy if you think about their trajectory as a team. Because like, I'm not saying they got good right when I started, but like, let's be real, it's probably because of me. This past season was wild. I got to cover the AFC Championship, which is something that I never thought I would get to do. But probably the craziest thing was stepping off the plane. I traveled to Denver. I also get to travel with the team sometimes, which is really cool. So traveling to Denver, we win the AFC Championship, right? We get home, and you guys saw the video. I'm sure it was all over the news and everything. And stepping off that plane and hearing like the roar of the people and they're chanting MVP for Josh and all that, like that's something I'll never forget. I actually wore a GoPro and strapped it to my chest so that when I got off the plane, because I knew it was going to be such a crazy experience, I would want to remember it. So I had a GoPro on my chest and then I'm running around with a little DSLR camera filming everything, right? But I knew that I wanted another camera angle just to kind of remember it. So that's definitely stepping off the plane after we clinched Denver was. It was nothing. It was I can't even describe it. It was amazing. So.
What are some mistakes that you've made as on your way to where you are now that you would like to tell us to try to avoid or to
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm gonna have to think about it for a second. Right off the top, it would definitely be I didn't apply myself enough, and this kind of goes hand in hand with not having a good internship. I didn't apply myself enough early on in my career that when I got to my first job, I was kind of like faking it till you make it sort of thing. You know, like I knew I had a really good content brain and like I had a really good writing. I was a really strong writer, which you need if you're going to be like a content producer. You might not need to be a good written writer, but you need to be a good conceptualizer and you have to be able to write in some capacity. You know, I'm not saying like semantically you have to be a good writer, but you do have to be able to write, if that makes sense, or conceptualize writing. But I really wasn't that good at the technical aspects. So, you know, all of a sudden I'm working at Channel 4 and I could edit, but I couldn't really shoot super well. So I made a huge mistake stepping in, you know, not taking advantage of my time in college when I had access to all this gear and taking it out and just, you know, running and gutting around campus and shooting. Or, you know, I'm sure, I don't know, do you guys have access to gear? I'm guessing you do because you've made videos, right?
Yeah, like we have just the basic stuff like tripod mics, gimbals, and stuff like that. So.
Nice, cool, very cool. Oh, gimbal, very cool. Yeah, so like my biggest mistake was not like you, especially in content creation, you don't know what's good until you make it, and you don't know what you're bad at until you go and do it. You know what I mean? So like my biggest mistake was not like going and just like shooting as much as I could, and getting as much experience as I could, because you really want to get to the point where like the gear is sort of second nature. And like Tyler probably understands this as an editor too. Like you want to get to the point where like you're not thinking about the gear, you're not thinking about what your keystrokes are when you're editing, you're not thinking about this, you're just doing what you want. You know, your brain
Hi
can
all.
just take.
Could I butt in for just a quick
Yeah.
sec? Andrew, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh,
I just
you're
want to
good.
let you know that in about a minute, we're going to go back to the main session. So if you have any burning questions to get out of the way before then, now's the time. And we'll see you all back in the main session in about a minute.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay.
So that's all I got for that question. I don't know if you guys have anything else, whatever.
Yeah. How long does it usually take you to make like a video?
It depends on the video. Like mic'd ups get made in like 24 hours. They get turned around pretty quick. Trailers take a few days. That Black History Month video I was working on, that was 10 minutes long, so that one took several weeks of gathering interviews and editing. The Kyle Brandt video took 3 to 4 days, you know. So in season, a lot of the stuff is quick turnaround, you know, 1, 2, 3 days maybe at most. You're gonna have to work on stuff, but you know, early on when it took me way longer. So
How is your schedule? How is your schedule with all this? How like all these projects going on? Like, do you have a flexible schedule, or are there like deadlines that you like every week that you have to hit, or something like that?
In season, it's really hard deadlines, like really, really hard and fast deadlines. And then once the season ends, it's a lot less. So, but in season, we generally have to get stuff out, especially if it's sponsored content. It has to be out. Mic'd Up has to be out Monday night or Tuesday